Hello, hello. Hi. How is everybody doing tonight? That really sounds terrible for like a Friday. How's everybody doing tonight? Oh, all right. Thank you for that extra bit of effort this evening. Welcome everyone to GDA's annual pitch night. We have some wonderful presenters that have worked very hard over the past month putting together these presentations for you to hopefully have their game be chosen to be our project for the rest of the year. But before we get to that, we have just our usual short announcements at the beginning of every meeting. The only one we have tonight is that community night is tomorrow at 5 o'clock. We'll be playing on the Minecraft map. You can find a link to that on the Discord. And so with that, we are going to bring our first pitching group up to the stage, and that is Axolotl's Tale. Please give everyone a hand when they first come up.
Sorry.
All right, and then just to change slides, just arrow keys.
Oh, it's on
the
there.
screen.
Okay, I got it.
Ready to go? Great. Yes, you're free to go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brendan. This is my partner, Ashley. And when we were trying to conceptualize a pitch for pitch night tonight, we really wanted to focus on fun, something that's approachable for everybody, and we wanted it to be fun to make and to play. So we were looking for the perfect protagonist, and remember we had this guy in our apartment, and he's perfect. So we were like, he's got to be the protagonist of our game. That's how we stumbled upon an Axolotl's Tale. So for the concept, we want it to be an unlikely friendship between an axolotl and a small cloud. If you ever played Cuphead's aerial levels, it's going to be a 2D flying shooter, left to right, where water is both your life force and your ammunition. Lulu and Nimby, Nimby's the cloud's name, are going to be one unit mechanically, and we really want to focus on the vibes. We want it to be relaxing, very cute, very dreamy, so very chill, lo-fi. There you go.
Now moving on to the story of our game. Starts off with Lulu the axolotl minding their own business when suddenly they step on a geyser that transports them to another dimension, a sky ocean. The sky ocean is a magical world where aquatic creatures and plant life live in an endless sky. Appearing out of thin air, Lulu lands on Nimby the cloud. Against their parents' wishes, Nimby decides to help Lulu. Together, Lulu and Nimby embark on an adventure that will take Lulu home.
I'll do the mechanics. So we wanted it to be inspired by the Cuphead Kirby aerial levels, and we wanted to have a fun boss fight at the end that really kind of wraps up the story, makes it feel like a whole game. Your life force is going to be your ammunition. This is the main way we're going to differentiate it from those games. It's going to be a balance between shooting water and trying to maintain that water level and avoiding damage from obstacles. So for player actions, you can move, you can dash. Maybe there's going to be a cute like rainbow animation when you dash. You can aim with the mouse and you can shoot water droplets with the left mouse button. Both the dash and the shoot both use a small amount of your water supply. For the player goals, you're going to avoid obstacles and you're going to shoot enemies. You can find friendly aquatic creatures to recover your hydration. We used a cute little seahorse with a little bit of bubbles to conceptualize that. And you got to get to the end of the level and you got to beat the boss. This is a mock example that we came up with for how the game could look. And you see the Lulu and Nimby on the left, you have the water supply on the top left, and you're trying to use your cute little shoot to defeat the enemies and get past the obstacles. For dialogue, we wanted to have pauses in between waves of combat with kind of visual novel style, where you have the characters on the right side and Nimby and Lulu on the left side talking to them, kind of creating this full narrative that we have going on. For extra mechanics, we're going to have a charge attack if you hold the shoot button. That's going to create like a piercing hail that goes through enemies. A lightning power up with 5 seconds of unlimited lightning and invincibility. And then a coin collectible, where if you collect all of the coins in the game, you get a little special screen at the end.
And then moving on to the visuals of our game. For the aesthetics, we want it to be magical, aquatic, and enchanting. We want there to be dreamy landscapes with lots of sparkles and twinkles, like you can see on the left. For the artwork, we are open to 2D, 3D, and or pixel art, depending on the interests of the artists here at GDA. We're also open to combining those different mediums. The style will consist of vibrant colors and colored outlines. I also think if we do go with pixel art, it'd be kind of fun to use this program called Pixel Scaler to make it more rounded and cute. For character design will be simple shapes that focus on vibes. And finally, interface will be clean, round, and minimalist, as you can see here.
Ash did a lot of wonderful artwork, so I just want to say I really appreciate that. But so for sound, we want to do at least one environment track and one boss track. Like I've been saying, we want to do chill, upbeat vibes. We want to do atmospheric, magical. If you ever played like an ocean level in a game, we kind of like that soundtrack, but we also want to combine it to like sky vibes. So we have a short example, 5 seconds. Go ahead and play it. Awesome.
Okay, good.
For sound effects. Now, if you ever wanted to dribble Kirby like a basketball, that will not be present in this game. But you want to combine that sort of like feel of the arcade, bouncy, lots of synthesized sounds, sound effects from games like Celeste and Kirby.
And then finally, to sum everything up, from this production, we want to create one full level with dialogue and a boss minigame at the end, and of course, additional content if time permits. Summary of what the departments would be doing. And yeah, will Lulu get home? What will happen to NIMBY? Find out next time. Thank you for
guys.
listening.
Thank you all, Axolotl's Journey. So we're going to take a little bit of time here before we switch to our next group. Parm, do you mind hitting half the lights test? We're going to see how that kind of looks. Also, for any groups coming up, just remember that this is a hybrid event. And so speaking into the microphone will not only make it easier for everyone else to hear in the back of the room, but also the people who are watching online. And then with that, Zoom, if you can hear us, can you give us a thumbs up if you're getting audio from all of this? Like, were you able to hear both of the speakers talking? I'm getting 1 thumbs up. I'm getting 2. All right, so it seems like Zoom is all right. And does this look like an okay light level for everyone? Nobody feels like they're in the dark? Yeah. Perfect. All right. So with that, we will then move on to our next presenting group, which is Odd Jobs. So if you could please come up to the stage and everyone give them a round of applause. Everyone, and then just change slides.
Hello, everybody. We'd like to present to you our game, but first, I'd like you to just imagine with us a few things.
Let me fix that.
We'd like you to picture a few things like maybe a new car, a house, take a vacation, money. Don't these sound nice? Huh, in this economy. Now you see, it's money that makes the world go round. So here you asking, how am I supposed to make money then? May I present to you, ladies and gentle people, Odd Jobs, where you either move up or you move out.
So our game's quite literally dashing protagonist is named Maggie, a young adult with too many bills to pay. The only way she can avoid from being evicted is running to the city and taking any work going her way. It's going to be hard, it's going to be stressful, and it's going to suck. But that's city life. Either you move up or you move out. Our game consists of 2 gameplay loops, a primary 2D scroller and a secondary minigame. This quick change of pace is meant to reflect the unrelenting tempo of urban life. The primary loop consists of a player running across the street to find a place that's hiring. You may encounter different intersections, and this will increase the possibilities of you finding a job. You may encounter obstacles in your way that weren't there the previous day. This will force you to take a different route and keep things fresh. You only have a limited amount of daylight and stamina each day, so use it wisely. The secondary loop is completing work in the form of mini games. Players will find a place to work, and they'll be prompted to play a mini game inside. Finishing the mini game grants you money and skills. And the skills will give you the possibility to get more lucrative jobs. So get to leveling.
All right, let's move on to the departments. We want you and you and you and you and you and you. For the art direction of the city, we'll need retro sprites. Think something like Celeste, Shovel Knight, or Sonic. It should convey a beautiful but cold metropolis with cozy places dotted here and there. Minigames should show rhythm, game-like animations depicting a snapshot of a moment. The minigame should be a mix of cartoons, anime, and cell shading. For the sound, we want music on the streets to be fast and frantic, giving high adrenaline and anxiety. And minigames, on the other hand, should have simple music. Think something like Kahoot. For the writing, the writers will create a convincing setting that's both believable and relatable. We want to tell a story through passing remarks, short exchanges, and world building. The design of the game should reflect the ever-changing nature of a city. There will be many roadblocks and constraints that mix up the path you take each day. Minigames will reflect the job and their mechanics. For example, one minigame will have you pressing a button for a certain amount of time to pour the perfect cup of coffee. Doing poorly in minigames will net you less money. The production team will plan goals and deadlines and keep everyone on schedule. Finally, they'll also ensure there is a good communication between the departments.
To continue on that, we came up with a relatively rough timeline of what we want. By the mid-winter quarter, we like just the bare bones, the ability to have the scrolling and minigame mechanics. And by the end of winter quarter, have it all be able to playable so you can win or lose the game depending on how much money you make. For spring quarter, we use it with the fundamentals done to do world building, extra mechanics, aesthetics, and everything else that's necessary, and leave the rest of the time for stretch goals and nice to haves. So to sum up, for our demo, we plan to have at least 3 different streets that the player can go on and 10 unique mini games. Be careful, note they're very simple and short, so don't worry about that. At least 2 main soundtracks when you're running it through the city, and a few for each of the individual mini games. Again, simple, don't worry, don't stress about that. As well as we'd like to be able to tell the story of a city that never rests, but how you as a player and person can overcome insurmountable challenges through hard work and dedication. So thank you, everybody, for listening, and this concludes our pitch.
All right, thank you all so far. Another little bit of information we have is for any of these presentations, if you have any questions for the pitchers, going live after each presentation will be a Discord thread in which you can ask questions and pitchers will be able to answer them throughout the weekend during the voting process. So with that, our next group coming up is Taco Cat. Please give them a round of applause.
Thank you. Where's the presentation? Oh, great. Hi, I'm Caitlin Morgan, and I'm pitching the game Taco Cat, my partner, Tori Moore. Sorry, I had to pull up the slides real quickly on the set event. Cool. So Taco Cat is a 3-part game with a driving minigame, a taco making minigame, and story cutscenes. As you can see,
You have to have it over on this side. Sorry. Yeah, okay, hold on. Sorry, we're gonna take one more minute, everyone. Okay. Okay. So here, we can do that, and then
Yep.
we'll have the slides.
Oh,
There you
no.
go. There you go.
Spoilers. Cool. Hello again. My name is Caitlin Morgan, and I'm pitching Taco Cat with my partner Tori Moore. It's a 3-part mini game. It's a 3-part game with a driving mini game, a taco making mini game, and story cutscenes. As shown here, of the car, tacos, and the main characters Alex and Jamie. The mechanics. The main mechanic seen in the game is the timeline. The game is split up into 3 parts. So it'll be the story cutscenes, taco making, and driving. It'll be story taco drive, with the final story cutscene being determined by how fast you finish the game. On the bottom, you see the bottom timeline. Instead of having a timer on the screen, you see the daylight cycle shown through the environmental art and the colors changing from early dawn to noon to dusk to night. If you finish before night, you get the good ending. If you finish the game after nightfall, you get the sad ending. Driving. For driving, you hold a button to increase gravity and release it to decrease gravity. This is to help you build momentum and fling yourself over the slopes like in the game Tiny Wing. Holding down also uses gas and makes your engine run and go forward. Here's an example here. You hold down to build momentum, release the fling, and if you're stuck on a flat area or there's a slope too big for momentum, you hold down, you're able to chug over the hill, but it does take up more gas. Example here from Tiny Wing. Yep. Taco making. So taco making, you're given an order of the 7 ingredients needed. You click letters to grab the ingredients, space drop it onto the tortilla. If the order is correct, you earn more gas. If incorrect, you earn little to no gas. And here's the example here. Customer asks for the order, get on the side, you click a letter to grab the ingredient, space to drop it on the tortilla, and bam, perfect taco. If you get the taco perfect, you get more points and more gas. If done multiple perfect tacos in a row, you earn nitro to help you for the driving levels. The story. So this story is about Alex whining meetup with Jamie, his online friend. To meet up with Jamie, Alex decided to drive the family taco truck across the state, earning money to pay for gas with tacos. Alex is surprising Jamie at work the day before Jamie goes back to college. So if when playing the game, Alex gets to the final destination too late, Jamie's not there, you end up in an empty Walmart parking lot and you get the bad ending. However, if you finish the game before the timer, you're able to meet up and have tacos with your friend. And their cats. Ooh. So there's Alex, the blue cat, and Jamie is the red one. The aesthetics. The aesthetics of the game are based on Night in the Woods with cell shading and some airbrushing to give it a nice, warm, glowy feel. Over there in the bottom left is the original concept art of Alex and Jamie. And up there is the new concept art made for how the characters in concept art could look, made by me earlier this year. And then there's Night in the Woods in the top and the bottom middle, so you can see where the inspiration came from. The sound. Sound's not playing, but it's upbeat, fast road trip music for the driving portion. It is a fast-paced jams for the taco making speed game, a chill soundtrack for the cutscenes, bordering on sad nostalgic, and then mixed electronic, guitar, and string instruments. The main instrumental inspiration is from Dark Pit Kid Icarus, which you could play on the written pitch. The stretch goals. The Taco Cat stretch goals is an endless story mode. It's an endless mode you get after finishing the story mode. With no checkpoints, instead you drive, take mobile orders, and make tacos on the road to chuck them at the customers. If you run out of gas, you get towed at the beginning. You have to try to get as far as you can before running out of fuel. And also Jamie's in the car for you for this one. The other stretch goal you get is, or that we could do, sorry, is 2 to 3 taco truck skins you get earned by being faster or slower at the story mode. Thank you so much.
We're gonna have to.
So we'll be sadly taking the QR code down to get ready for the next presentation. Earlier, when I brought up that there was that Q&A thread on the Discord channel, all of the presentations and the written pitch, which has not been seen through each of these presentations, is available for you to review afterwards as well. And again, ask your questions there. So.
No, I'm just telling you.
Perfect. So as some of you might have heard, our next pitching team is going to be Dream Catchers, if we can give them a round of applause. They will be presenting on Zoom. So if you can hear us in Zoom, you are welcome to share your screen and begin your presentation. Let's make sure we can hear. All right. Can we get a sound check from you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You are ready to start. You've got 5 minutes.
Great. Hi, I'm Aaron.
Hi, I'm Akash, and this is Dreamcatcher. The concept we have for this game is a puzzle visual novel game where a girl who's suffering from nightmares is gifted a dream catcher to help her tackle her fear of arachnophobia and seal her fears away so she can finally get a good night's sleep before her first day of school.
So this is our current timeline. After the girl goes to bed, she is transported to a nightmare version of her school where she finds the dream catcher she was gifted. In order to open her locker, she must find 4 ciphers that are distributed across 4 different parts of her school. Each section will have a puzzle followed by a flashback of a supporting figure in her life. This is where the main gameplay will be. Once she finds all of the ciphers, she will put them all together to open her locker, where she will trigger her final flashback with all of her supporting figures who help her overcome her fear. Once her fear is conquered, we return to a room where she can finally sleep peacefully.
The gameplay itself will be in a 2D pixel art style, like Undertale or old Pokemon, where the goal of the player is to complete puzzles and challenges that await them in 4 sections of the school and collect all the cipher pieces in order to open a locker. As for what the design team will need to do, they'll need to create a school layout with 4 challenges for the player to get through. They will need to work closely with the writing department so that the backstory elements in the challenges symbolize the way the girl overcomes her fear. And the drawing above shows a highly malleable version of the school map, where the central hub will be the hallway connecting to all the different challenges. And the hallway will also contain the ever important locker, where she'll open it at the end of the game.
Speaking of said challenges, their purpose in the game is to either increase tension, make the player think, or both. When we were making the game concept, we had a couple of examples to get the design team thinking. The first challenge follows a more traditional horror game structure where the player must navigate through a spider maze to find the cipher piece while avoiding patrolling spiders, dealing with limited vision, and relying only on audio cues to guide them away from the spiders. Our second potential puzzle was a brain teaser, where the player must follow tricky instructions to brew a spider repellent potion to fumigate a room and access a cipher piece. Hopefully, this will challenge the player intellectually and give them pause from the anxiety.
As a visual novel game, the story is a big part of this game, and so we first need to a reason for the girl to be looking for the ciphers, whether it be an innate understanding or a bully who's ripped up her locker combination. Next, we'll need to write a backstory for the girl, focusing on the cause of her arachnophobia and how it manifests in the game, as each of the cipher pieces will introduce a supporting member of her life in the form of a flashback. And the team will need to figure out the details of what occurs in the flashback and how each memory supports the girl. And when the girl finally puts the pieces together and triggers her final flashback, it should be a satisfying ending to her nightmares.
For the visual team, we will need to work on the illustrations of the introductory going to bed scene and the flashbacks of the girl when she 1, finds the cipher pieces, 2, the dream catcher, and 3, the final cutscene. To give you an idea of what we thought the flashbacks would be like, they would start with her looking at a cipher piece, which would then transition into snapshots of images detailing the support she got from a figure in her life and how this would translate to her overcoming her fear. The flashbacks and cutscenes would be of more detailed pixel art or illustration.
Going on to sound development, we hope for 2 general vibes. The sound design should reflect the tension and the comfort she experiences as she moves through different parts of the game. We believe that the flashbacks and the bedroom scene should invoke a calm, safe feeling, and this can be achieved through real tones like piano music, while the gameplay should keep the player on their toes and through distorted sounds, emphasizing the nightmare aspect of gameplay. And here's an example we found of distorted, spooky sounds.
Going on, as for some stretch goals, we could include another fear level for the child to face. If that doesn't seem feasible, we could also include some more challenges or puzzles for the arachnophobia level. We had originally envisioned the game to have multiple fears in the same setting, with the new fear replacing the spider-themed visuals. Thank you for listening.
All right, so coming up to the stage next is going to be the group for Harvest. Are you present here? Perfect. All right, please everyone give Harvest a round of applause.
One second, it's loading. I'll turn on presentable just in case they want it.
Hello, everyone. So this is our game. It's called Harvest, and our tagline is "There's no board of ethics in the apocalypse." Just as a content warning, there's going to be some detached limbs and also body horror in this game, but don't get too excited because it's cartoonish.
In Harvest, you play as a scientist trying to survive a fungus zombie apocalypse. Unfortunately, you have no weapons, but your unethical research into limb transplants has granted you a new ability to be able to replace your limbs with the torn off limbs of your fallen enemies.
You have 12 hours or 12 minutes in-game time to collect enough zombie parts to grow strong enough to defend yourself against an incoming zombie horde, all while also trying to collect enough fungus samples to create a cure.
Harvest will be a top-down action RPG with fast-paced melee combat. And here is a GIF of what we think that combat could look like. It would focus a lot on having enemy drops such as med kits or limbs that fall off of the enemies that you can attach to your player character, and you would inherit the abilities from those limbs.
Our game's core mechanic is the ability to replace your limbs with the limbs of your enemies. Each enemy will have its own unique ability, which means you'll be able to inherit the abilities of the enemies you defeat. You'll be able to quickly swap out your limbs, which will allow you to try a wide variety of different builds and different combinations of abilities. In addition to fighting through zombies, you will also be collecting fungus samples that you'll be able to use to make a cure at the end, and that's how you win. After a brief tutorial and about 12 minutes of normal gameplay, an endless zombie horde will arrive. This will encourage players to take risks and make snap decisions so that they're strong enough and prepared enough in order to survive the onslaught, collect enough fungus samples, and get back to their lab before they're overwhelmed. This will lead to action-packed and intense gameplay. Here's an example of what the menu might look like. It'll show you what all your limbs do and what their abilities do and how you would use them.
So as for the writing of our game, we're hoping for some more complex lore and also backstory. We can ask questions such as what caused the zombie apocalypse, how can it be cured, and also how does the scientist feel about killing zombies who were once human. The backstory will influence a lot about world building and also sort of like character building. As a stretch goal, we were also hoping for some NPC dialogue, and writers would have an opportunity to write some scripts for that.
Okay. For the art of our game, we were heavily inspired by Scribblenauts. We were thinking of having dark outlines, cell shading, and muted colors. And here are some examples of what the limbs could look like. And for the environment and monster designs, we were really leaning into the overgrown mushroom aesthetic.
And now as for sound, we were hoping for 2 different tracks, one just for generally fighting all the zombies, and another one for when the zombie horde arrives. Our general motto for songs is goes hard. As for sound effects, we're hoping for some electronic sound effects for fighting, mostly guttural, visceral, punchy, just to add some more impact to the fighting.
And for the overall demo goals for our project, we were thinking of having 2 environments, a brief tutorial environment, and then an overworld. We were thinking of having about 4 like mini boss type enemies and 10 or more regular enemies, and each would have its own limb that has its own abilities. And we were thinking of having 2 music tracks, one for the regular gameplay and one for the more intense gameplay. And then some stretch goals we were thinking of was NPCs and dialogue and more enemy variations. Okay, and thank you for considering Harvest.
Our next group coming up to the stage is going to be Heir of Death. Are you present here? Yes. All right, please give Heir of Death a round of applause.
All right, I'm Jason Hutchins. I'm the designer for this.
I'm Chase and I helped.
Hello, I'm Alexa Medina and I was one of the artists.
So to start, I shall read a little bit of the lore for you. The essence of life, the spectral core, like a fire, it burns, flickers, and eventually fades. Even death himself fears the fading of the light. So when death looked upon his hourglass and saw only a handful of grains remain, he knew what he must do. Death scoured the annals of history, looking for a fitting spirit to replace him. Conquerors, rulers, warriors, and scholars fell to his tests, leaving him with you, a peasant from the fifth realm. Can you prove your worth and become the heir of death?
So our game, The Heir of Death, the gameplay is really going to take off from games such as Hades, Hyperlight Drifter, Hyperlight Drifter, Crosscode. If you don't know what those games are, that's perfectly fine. Basically, it's going to be a fast-paced single-player hack and slash arena fighting game. How it'll work is that you are just dropped in an arena surrounded by hordes and hordes of enemies. You'll do your best to attack quickly and dodge to try to combo as many enemies as you can, as quick as you can. You may be able to take them out quick, but you have to be careful because you too can die in only 1 or 2 shots. This will be a fast-paced experience that will reward the skilled.
So you pick a cool character, you enter the arena, you're given an objective, and then it takes place in a small arena full of enemies. So you complete the objective and then you win. Then you gain the currency that are points that are given to you by actually killing enemies and then, well, completing the objective. It depends on how long you take and overall just how many kills you get. And yeah, and then you get the ability to win over abilities with those points.
So, So with the programming team, you guys will be the ones working behind the scenes, implementing health UI for both the player and the enemies, implementing the enemy AI and all the different attacks and abilities the player is going to be able to equip and use throughout the game. It'll be your job to make everything flow as quick and as smoothly as possible for this fast-paced action-packed experience.
So for the art, the game is going to be a 3D style that looks 2D. We are thinking more like Paper Mario or stuff like that. Hades is a very good example of what we want the game to look like. The art, as mentioned, it is basically animals, spirit animals that are in hoods. And yeah, we really just want really cool animals. And here are some of the other concept arts that we have. We have pixel art too, as a concept, made by Chase.
So don't worry, we didn't forget the writing team. Although this is primarily a combat-based game, there's still going to be plenty for the writing team to do. In this world, Death is going to retire soon, and he has brought loads of spirits from all over the underworld to compete to earn his throne. Between battles, you'll be able to see the world behind the scenes of the arena and talk to the various combatants, rivals, and friends you may meet and talk to along the way. Similar to, Hades. What is going on in this mysterious competition? Is there more than meets the eye? It'll be you to flesh out this world after death.
So for the sound, we're looking for like explosions, fireballs, slashing noise for the actual sound. And for the music, we're looking for intense, almost boss-like music. I don't know how to play these, but our best example that we found was Elder Souls. It didn't.
You have to click play twice.
Well, I guess we're not hearing it now, I guess. So thank you for your time, and please consider voting for Heir of Death.
If you wanted to hear what that music would have been, again, you're welcome to go into the Discord and check out all of these presentations where hopefully the links will be working there. Introducing the next presentation to the stage, Downbeat. Please give them a round of applause.
One sec. I need to fix that. Hold on. There we go. All right.
Okay. How do I do this?
You should be able to use, yeah.
Okay. Hello.
My name is Cameron Dunn,
I'm Lena Chen.
and we're very excited to talk to you about Downbeat, the ultimate battle of the bands. Downbeat is a cross between a traditional fighting game and a rhythm game. Musically themed characters will duke it out using their instruments and musical attacks.
So Downbeat will basically be a 1v1 local fighting game, a la Street Fighter with side-scrolling elements and 2D art. However, it'll be different from other fighters in that you cannot attack at any time. You must attack to the beat. So next to your health bar, there will be a beat visualizer where notes come towards your health. And you have to attack with the notes or else your moves won't fire at all. But if you get perfect timing, you can also get some extra damage. And at the start of each match, there will be an intro sequence that's more similar to a traditional rhythm game where notes come at you very quickly and you have to hit the beats as precisely and as much as you can. The player who performs better in this sort of intro section will get a bonus. We'll get a bonus damage.
Burst of additional damage.
Yeah, to start off the match.
After the intro segment, it'll transition into a more fighting game-y segment where players will have the chance to attack once every measure. If both players attack on the same measure, there will be a rock, paper, scissors system where there's 3 kinds of attacks. There are light attacks, medium attacks, and heavy attacks, also known as quarter notes, half notes, and whole notes. Quarter notes will interrupt half notes will interrupt whole notes, and whole notes will be so powerful that quarter notes don't interrupt them. So there's a rock, paper, scissors triangle. If you win the matchup and land a successful attack, then you have the opportunity to follow up into a combo that represents basically a riff where your character will go like da 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 da, something like that. Each character will have their own unique combos, which will provide gameplay variation and different effects and character. Speaking of characters, one of the strengths that we feel of our concept is the possibility for all kinds of different interesting characters, because any instrument or musical concept could theoretically have a character attached to it. These are some of the characters that we're really proud of, like Drum Golem, who's a golem made of drums who beats his chest to produce sonic booms, or Double Bass, who's a bass guitarist and a stand-up bass player in one character, and they can transform into each other. But if we win, you'll have the opportunity to propose your own character ideas, and we can maybe have a vote on what kinds of things we will include.
So for the aesthetics, there will be fun, zany theater band kid vibes, lots of bright pops of color, smooth, defined lines, cartoony proportions and expressions and exaggeration. It will be similar to Skullgirls or Muse Dash. And it'll be extremely, very colorful, but we'll have a hierarchy of color palettes where the characters are the most colorful and bright in order to pop out, but pure whites and blacks will be reserved for important parts like the beats and the attacks, and the background elements will be more muted. So this is an example screenshot, for example.
So we've got to sort of give you a general idea of what the screen might look like during gameplay. We've got the 2 characters fighting off using different moves. Up near the health bars, you've got the beat visualization going to the side and the little line that indicates when you need to line up your attack exactly. And we thought it might be a fun idea to have a visualized history of the notes and combos that the players have done thus far in a little sheet music on the bottom. Sound is obviously going to be super important because it's a music-based game. Each character will make notes as they attack with their instruments. There's going to be a need to be a fun, upbeat backing track. We think that some nice jazz would go really well with the sort of improvisational style of the attacking and create sort of a nice vibe.
So for writing, obviously we're gonna need character bios and backstories, but there's also a lot of room for barks and clips to characterize the characters. And there's also gonna be background information about the setting, the city where they're fighting, and possibly like the stakes, where they're fighting for. There's lots of room for sneaky lore, even though we're probably not gonna have the ability to make a full story out of it.
And the nice thing about the. Sorry.
Please give a round of applause. A reminder for all the groups coming up, you do have a 5-minute timer and we will be enforcing it. So just to let you all know, we have one more presentation before we're going to be going to a short break. And the group that will be coming up next is Heir of Death, or sorry, Deal of the Damned. Can we give them a round of applause to Deal of the Damned? Okay. Hello, my name is Mason Johnson. This is David, this is Ruby, and this is GDA, and this is Deal of the Damned. Deal of the Damned is a 2D pixel top-down survival horror game focusing on Nathan and his friends who find themselves trapped within a pocket dimension replica of their town that was once brought to ruins, which is reminiscent to that of an Aul, which is a fortified village located within the Caucasus of Central Asia. Their goal is to find a way to escape this hell-torn landscape for solving puzzles and finding artifacts while evading murderous monsters using strategic and stealth mechanics. The central story focuses on Nathan and his friends being sent to this replica town once destroyed against their will with no immediate sign of escape. Trying to find the means of escaping, they encounter various types of monsters that are unable to harm while exploring the distorted world. Nathan must use his wits to survive, find objects related to his past, and understand his realm's nature in order to escape this purgatory.
Nathan is a drifter who settled down and married a woman in the rural village. Upon returning from a hunting expedition one day, he found the village had been reduced to ruins and that his wife had been murdered. Traumatized, he took to drinking while being unable to let go of her death and feeling remorseful of the atrocities he committed during his travels.
The antagonist, Dravis, traps people in their own personal hell to feed off their fear and suffering. When satiated, he kills them to gain magic power. No one has overcome their trauma and escaped from Dravis' trap yet. The art style of our game would feature a 2D top-down pixel art style with a background similar to a dark and dreadful owl in ruins. The art style of our setting is inspired by the Dragon Ball Z Attack of the Saiyans.
Our game's movement is 8-directional with sprinting, sneaking, and hiding. You will utilize items with a carry weight based inventory system with item combination and usage. Additionally, we have environmental puzzles and randomly toggled events selected at the start of a new game. Monsters enter rooms semi-randomly and spawn chances increase with noise. You must sneak and use hiding spots to evade monsters. Walking, sprinting, and using items make noise that attracts monsters in the room. Monsters have patrol routes when not aware of the player. If the monster sees the player, it chases them until it loses line of sight with them for some time. Monsters can chase the player into other rooms.
The main music of our game is a subtle, ominous, and ambient music that slows down by default and then speeds up when the player is being chased. There will be a specific monster music that will get louder as the monster gets closer to the player. And then the sound effect we want are game-like detection sounds in like the ones in Pokemon, and realistic sound effects of wind blowing, footsteps, and heartbeats.
In terms of scope, we wanted our game to include around 30 rooms across the whole game, and they'd be spread out between the various houses in the village, with either a house having one room or a house having multiple rooms. We also want to include different puzzle types within the game, and the biggest element of our scope is the randomization, where key items required to beat the game would have set spawn points that would be determined at the new game generation, as well as various optional interactions such as jump scares would be generated the same way.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to our pitch, and we really appreciate if you vote for our game. Nathan's life depends on it. All right, thank you all so far for sitting through some of these presentations. We know it's a long night tonight. So take the next 10 minutes to kind of get up, stretch your legs. There are restrooms right outside the door. If these fill up, if you go down to the second floor, there's restrooms there. We will be recommencing these presentations at 7 o'clock. Hello, everybody. Just want to give you a couple minute heads up. Please start finding your seats. People from outside, if you can hear us, finish what you're doing and try and make your way back in. All right, for everybody who's sitting down. On the count of 3, yell out your favorite game pitch so far. 1, 2, 3. Have any of you been watching? That didn't sound like everybody. What's your favorite pitch on 3? 1, 2. All right, Simon says jump. No. All right. How's everybody doing so far? How's the break? Feeling re-energized? There you go. All right. We've got 7 more pitches for you. So without further ado, we're going to introduce the next one, Potion Catastrophe. You've got your 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. This is our pitch, Potion Catastrophe. I'm Josh. I'm joined here live by Tien, and unfortunately, Callie couldn't be here tonight. And we had some pre-recorded audio that didn't quite work, but it's in the slides for you want to check out. Let's jump right in.
In this game, you play as an alchemist who runs a small potion shop in the middle of this incredible fantasy city where magic greets you at every turn. You could wake up and see manta rays flying past your bedroom window or have your mail be delivered straight to you in a ball of magical light. Next. One day, the alchemist was making potions when they accidentally knocked the wrong ingredient into their cauldron, causing the contents of the cauldron to blow up in their face, turning them into a cat. Next. Because the alchemist became a cat, they have mostly forgotten how to work as an alchemist, which means that they have also forgotten the most important thing of all, the potion recipe that can turn them human again. They figure out how to make potions again, and after doing that, they will set out to find the potion recipe and ingredients that can make them human again. This story can be serious. When you turn yourself into a cat, your partner thinks something terrible has happened to you. You must turn yourself back into a human to be with them again. This story can also be lighthearted. When you turn yourself into a cat, your partner is conveniently away visiting family. You must turn yourself back into a human before they return. There will be lots of chances for the writing team to do a lot of environmental storytelling and world building.
So what is Potion Catastrophe about from a gameplay perspective? Well, it's about 2 things, 2D platforming and potion crafting. Let's talk about 2D platforming first. Here's a couple of examples from a movement demo that you can play right now and be linked at the end of the slides. Your goal when you're doing platforming is to explore the levels that are set in different parts of the city to find potion ingredients. You have 2 main movement mechanics. There's a limited wall climb where you can climb up on any wall for just a short distance, and you can wall jump. We feel like this is going to give level designers a good toolbox to make some interesting levels. Then once you've found all those potions, potion ingredients, you take them back to your shop and you exercise with the potion crafting system. This is where you take all the zany, weird potion ingredients you found, you throw them in whatever combination into your pot you can think of. Maybe it blows up into your face. Maybe it's the thing you're looking for. You don't know, but you're having a good time. So the main game loop, you do your 2D platforming, you gather your ingredients, you take them back to the shop, you do your potion crafting, you realize, oh no, I don't have all the ingredients I need to turn myself back human, so I better go out and I better find some more.
For the art style, we are going for a cutesy and whimsical hand-drawn style that sort of feels like you are drawing with ink. And depending on what story we go for, the colors will either be bright for the lighthearted story or more muted and cool for the serious story. Next. For our core aesthetics, we are going for a fantasy and whimsical aesthetic that will be fun to explore as you roam around in the city.
So in terms of sound, we're mostly intending pretty simple things. Simple piano music, simple guitar music, something in that vein. Mostly light and happy, but can change to fit the location. So if we have a level that's set in the sewers, obviously the music is going to be more darker and more atmospheric. Also, since it's a bustling city, there's plenty of opportunities to do interesting diegetic music. Perhaps the writing team and the artists have come up with a character who's a busker who plays guitar music on the corner, or maybe there's a jazz band playing in a cafe outside at a cafe. To go with that, the sound effects, mostly joyful, playful, thoughtful. Obviously, the cat game, we got to get some cat meows. That's like #1 priority here. Are we kidding ourselves? So moving on, the scope. At the end of the day, we want 2 levels, each representing a different part of the city, the potion crafting system, which then incorporates the main game loop, and then also some way to express the main story. It doesn't necessarily have to be explicit, but just told through the player's actions. In terms of stretch goals, then moving on, bumping up the story, giving us some cutscenes to work with, letting the artists and the writers flex their muscles a little bit. And then if we have even more time, we can make interactable NPCs, we can add more to the potion crafting system. There's a lot of opportunity for expansion if we end up having the time. Thank you so much for listening to Potion Catastrophe. If you want to play the movement demo, there's a QR code and a link in the slides. And here's the link to the written pitch. Thank you very much. It's unfortunate Callie could not be here with us, but if you check the slides, you can hear her part of the presentation.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Potion Catastrophe. Welcoming to the stage our next presenters. This is going to be team for Escape into the Sun. Are they on Zoom?
No.
No, they're there. Please give them a round of applause. You talk here into the mic, and then you control the slides with the arrow keys.
All right.
Okay, 5 minutes, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sophie, and I'll be presenting Escape into the Sun, which is a pitch I made with my partner, Maylin. Now, the concept is that Escape into the Sun is a 2D multiplayer game or platformer game that features, or in which the players have to coordinate the abilities of their characters in order to reach the top of the map before the sun rises, which is the time limit that is given. The backstory is that the characters are 2 ninjas named Akira and Yu, and they're escaping from a heist. And they're wanted criminals, and their goal is to get to the helicopter, which is at the top of the alleyway, and in order to be rescued before the sun rises. Now, the design for the player mechanics is that Yu is the ninja that specializes in mobility, and she has a grapple hook mechanic which can launch her like further up the wall than normal jump distance, and she's able to push buttons that can make extra platforms protrude from the wall in order for her partner to jump on. And Akira is the ninja that specializes in stealth, and his ability is to temporarily disable the obstacles, which we'll get into for the next slide. So the levels is going to be a vertical layout style, and there's going to be balconies and platforms that are attached on the side of the walls, which the ninjas can jump onto to reach the top. And they'll be filled randomly with obstacles such as spikes and security cameras. And for example, the security cameras will have a zone that you cannot cross, otherwise the game is over. So you can't grapple hook past the security camera zone. So Akira would have to disable the security camera before you could grapple hook onto or above the security camera. And it's going to be a repeated layout of platforms and obstacles, and you'll need the use of both abilities to reach the top. As for the art style, the concept art is drawn by my pitch partner, Maylin, and it's going to be featuring a cartoon or chibi theme. And it's going to be 2D detailed high contrast, and their outfits are going to be like tech wear, and it features components of their abilities. As for the environment, it's going to be set in a cyberpunk like futuristic city where the buildings are going to be dark and they're going to have bright neon lights to contrast with it. And the background should have a sky, and it slowly gets brighter as the sun rises to indicate the progression of the game. And there's going to be 4 main parts of programming. First of all, there's going to be obstacles such as security camera detection and disabling or enabling them and coordinating it with the character's abilities. The second part is player mechanics, which is the coding like the buttons and how to make the platform slide out, as well as the physics for the grapple hook. The third one is the camera, which needs to follow both players. So both characters must be on screen at the same time to encourage teamwork. And the fourth one is the timer. And this one kind of has to coordinate with the art team so the sky should reflect like the time of the day. And the brighter the sky is, the more further you are into the level and you want to get to the top before the sun rises. As for the sound, the music's going to start off as a like soft and eerie tune that's mysterious and suspenseful. And as the level starts, it's going to turn into a loud orchestral sound that is intense and dangerous. And the sound effects, we need sound effects for like jumping and the grapple hooks and the abilities, as well as indicating the win or loss of a level. And for scopes, so for the demo, the game should probably be played within 2 minutes. So it's a really short 1-level game, but some stretch goals we have is incorporating multiple levels as well as a lives counter. And we'll also have, or another stretch goal we have is an instruction screen with cutscenes and even voice lines to further incorporate the narrative into the gameplay. And thank you.
All right, presenting next is going to be the group for the Tipper. Give them a round of applause. You've got 5 minutes. You control the presentation.
I think we'll just click this one. Hi there, I'm Audrey. This is Vivian, Aurora, and Daniel, and this is our horror game, The Tipper.
Okay, can you guys hear me? All right, as for the concept, it is going to be a psychological thriller set in 1970 Seattle, Washington. And the story is going to be about a struggling photographer trying to get by. And our main inspiration is going to be the Jake Gyllenhaal movie, Nightcrawler. And I really like that movie because it's very grimy and eerie.
So rundown of the storyline, it will follow our main protagonist, a poor photographer who's looking for a well-paying job from his photos. On one day, they get an anonymous tip on the telephone of a photo location. The person will offer more tips to the photographer, but the tips will start to get more dark and sinister and even criminal at some point. The tipper warns the photographer that if he goes to the authorities, that he'll give the tip of his ultimate death. The photographer continues to take the photos, and within the photos, there will be puzzles and clues to help the player try to figure out who the tipper is within those photos. At the end of the game, the photographer must make a decision to call the authorities and accuse one of the many suspects that he'll be introduced to within the game. So the aesthetics we're going for is more like dark, eerie, ominous. And as you see, you can see like normal scenes, they look kind of suspicious and kind of show hints of thriller. And what do you do next? For example, the Japanese horror game, the closing shift is like takes place in a cafe, and you can see all the characters look kind of suspicious, kind of dark, and that's what like the look we're kind of go for.
Okay, as for the design, it'll be many scenes. So for example, one will be set in the apartment, and from the player's apartment, you'll be getting calls from the tipper, and the tipper will be exploring many different crime scenes and taking photographs of them. And and then within these crime scenes, there'll be clues to try to expose who the tipper is, and that's kind of the point of the game.
So the programming aspect of this, there will be multiple different endings. That'll be if you guess the tipper's identity correctly or incorrectly. There will be mobility through WASD keys, mouse clickings for taking photos and picking up the phone calls, and key pressings for dialogue interactions. For the sound design, we'd like to focus more on the in-game sound effects so that we can try to heighten the senses of the player and sort of tap in on the eerie and spooky parts of that. For example, the movie or film Smile, if you watched it, it has a lot of ominous sound effects, and it makes any normal scene in the movie kind of really thrilling, and it just makes normal scenes look very scary and spooky.
For the general scope and goals for the project, we are hoping for like 1 hour of playtime, very puzzle heavy, emphasis on dark and unsettling experiences, having very creepy visuals and exaggerated sound effects for a suspenseful climax.
Thank you. Please vote for our game.
All right, presenting our next pitch will be Shattered Faith. If you would please come to the stage.
Sorry, I have to turn it.
Timer down here. Show the presentation with the keys, and then definitely remember to speak on that speaker. You got it. Thank you. It'll still be controlled.
Oh, perfect.
Right there, please.
My name is Elliot Crisp. This is my pitch, Shattered Faith. It is a 2D. Oh, okay. We have a. Yeah, that might work. There we go. Perfect. It's a 2D visual narrative and puzzle game. You solve puzzles in an old chapel and discuss morals with a mysterious monk. You experience a beautiful atmosphere with stunning glass art and detailed lore. So I kind of focused a lot on this game pitch on trying to get a lot of different departments all together here, with an emphasis on art in this game, but also writing. Let's get to the next one here. Writing here, I have a story built here. You're trying to basically rebuild this chapel stained glass. You're talking to a monk. You're like, what the heck is this faith? And you begin to learn the morals that this chapel and this monk kind of follow, specifically surrounding its mysterious and kind of like a little gloomy, a little horror-esque, but just a little more tense faith. So obviously, a crux of this is the stained glass puzzles, right? This is obviously a big part of it. It's one of the core pillars. So I wanted to hit this pretty hard with design and programming here. I don't know if any of you have played We Were Here Forever. They do great puzzles, and it's kind of what I took a lot of inspiration from. All the puzzles here that I hope in the demo, it's going to be about 2 of them, and they're going to be pretty complex. Maybe they get tied in via color. Maybe you build it like you would, I don't know, Connect 4. I wanted to leave a lot of like room for both design and programming to work together as departments to really build up this part of the game, because I think it's super important and also something that the player is going to really love. Here's the text-based storylines, the writing. The art on the left and right are concept arts drawn by a good friend of mine. As you can see, it's a little scary, a little tense, a little puzzling. Obviously, you got Hades in the middle here. The conversations with the monk are also going to be pretty like pinnacle part of this game here. During the conversations, you're learning more about the faith morals and how they correlate to the stained glass that you just fixed. So we need to build the monk in a kind of mysterious, a little gloomy, but also kind of kind way, some way to like translate the player's perspective on the monk to also the faith, as both are going to be pretty mysterious throughout the game. The environment, very important, right? You've got a chapel, it's going to be very gloomy, maybe Gothic architecture, also very symbolistic of the faith. Here we've got more of the stained glass. Once again, going back to this is a massive part. The art is going to be super huge in this area because you've got to convey the moral of the stained glass puzzle that you're currently doing. So for example, if it's like kindness, you've got to convey an action somehow through that. So possibly, I think I'm bringing it up here, art and design. Design can work with art maybe to help to do this. I mentioned here, yeah, how's the art reflecting the fantasy religion's morals? So I want to have the player do the puzzles and then have a conversation with the monk. And during that conversation, they try and guess what the stained glass morals are depicting. Like, for example, is it the young child giving gifts conveys an emotion of compassion. So after they see this child giving the gifts of the stained glass, they then go to the monk and they're like, blah, 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 blah. And the monk's like, well, do you think it's a stained glass depicting this moral of compassion? Like, oh, maybe. Music and sound. I also mentioned We Were Here. I wanted background choir, slow build up, very similar to kind of a church or a chapel. But I also wanted to kind of add in a bit more of tense and mystery. This is once again symbolistic of like the faith and religion and the setting as a whole. It's a little scary, but not really. And then sound effects, I've got some glass scraping, some chiseling, echoing sounds, because once again, you are a stained glass repairman, so you're going to be dealing with some of those tools. That's pretty much it. Once again, I want to like emphasize, I think there's a lot to go with all the departments for this game. I think it's just a matter of how well those departments like want to really bring it out, especially with the puzzles. There's a lot to do with the writing, and of course, the game revolves around the art. But that's pretty much it. I hope you vote for me, and best of luck.
All right, presenting our next pitch is going to be the team from the Remnants. Please give them a round of applause. 5 minutes, you've got your timer down there to your right. Make sure to speak to the microphone so you can hear you, and use the space bar to progress the selection.
Cool, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Ivy. I'm here to talk to you about Remnants. And Remnants is a 3D sci-fi environmental story game that takes place in a jungle. So let's start with that story, if you don't mind. You wake up in a forest. The sun is rising and you see smoke far off in the distance. You stand shakily and feel pain shoot through your leg. It's broken. A path of debris lies before you. Luggage litters the ground. It all must have fallen from a plane as it crashed. You begin to limp forward as one of the items on the ground catches your eye. You pick it up, but are left with more questions than answers. When you pick this picture up, you swear you can hear the sound of clothes rustling as the couple jostles to get the photo. Curiosity pushes you forward. As you continue walking painfully, you find more items in various states of destruction. You find journals, clothes, toys, and newspapers. A multitude of unresolved stories begin to open up in front of you. You learn names and become invested in lives that you worry may already be over. You continue to navigate the jungle as the path becomes more challenging to follow, and the twists and turns lead you to items that change your perception of the crash. Alien artifacts begin to appear among debris from the crash, seemingly without explanation. You near the smoke now, but are too engrossed in the items on the ground and the stories they represent to look up. That is, until you run right into the crashed plane itself. In the reflection of the plane window, you see yourself, an alien. The camera pans up and away from you, and you stare upon the crash site of the plane, skewered by an alien craft that can only be yours. All of the people you have come to care about are gone, and while you saw yourself as a victim of tragedy like them, you must now view their stories in a whole new light. Remnants is a warm, immersive game that takes place in a stylized 3D jungle. The story will be told through objects. It will have a twist ending that makes the player sort of rethink what they've learned and experienced throughout the game. We want the player to feel small and feel immersed. And yes, we did take inspiration for the twist at the end from hit video game Among Us. As far as programming, there's going to be a big focus on the item pickup and a collection system that will connect the different items by plot line and by their connections within the plot to help the character envision the story that they're sort of piecing apart. They'll also have to make dynamic events happen in the environment and make sure the technical art looks good. The writing team will be in charge of writing subplots, writing diary entries into the items that the character picks up if there's writing in them. And we're hoping we might even have voice acting talent from the club that the writers can write voice lines for, so that when the items are picked up, we can hear flashbacks from that item's past. The big design department challenge will be level design. Design will focus on guiding the player in the right direction, deciding where the items are going to go in the level, and even working with programming to add dynamic events to the game, like falling trees. An important thing to remember is those assets have to come from somewhere, and that's going to be the art department. We're going to want a 3D world with 2D assets in it that we can use as billboards to make it feel really overgrown, dense, and keep that stylized look. Art is also going to be working on sort of the core, the heart of the game, which is these items. The items will actually unite everyone because they'll be imagined by the writers and a level designed by the designers, and they'll be saved in a collection that the programmers will implement. Plus, there will be audio flashbacks when they're picked up that will be made by the sound department. Finally, the sound department. They will be working on music that is tentative and mysterious at first, but builds to something big and dramatic at that end. There's also going to be a lot of FX that we're going to need to keep it immersive in the way that we want it to be. And then finally, ambience, like birds, trees. Trees don't make a lot of noise, but maybe streams and water, stuff like that. As far as our goals, we're hoping that the game can be 5 to 10 minutes long, with the main game loop consisting of the player navigating that path of items, interacting with them, listening to audio flashbacks, and attempting to piece together meaning out of what they find with the help of that collection system. We're aiming for a stylized 3D appearance with lots of 2D environmental assets. So thank you for your time and consideration. We look forward to making Remnants a reality with you.
All right, presenting our next group is going to be Devil Headed. If you'd please make your way to the stage.
Oh, cool. All right. Hi, I'm Sky.
I'm Thurman.
And this is Devil Headed.
After experiencing a major tragedy in their life, our main character finds that a demon has taken residence in their subconscious and wishes to take over the main character's body. In order to take back control of your body, you must play through a dream state roguelike, working your way through a difficult dungeon, trying to reach and confront the demon. When you die in the dungeon, you wake up and enter a visual novel in the waking world. Here you can talk to and befriend other people, similar to making friends in Stardew Valley or social links in Persona 4. As you befriend people in the waking world, you unlock items and gain stat-ups in the dream world, allowing you to get further than before. Any enemies that you defeat in the dungeon earn you experience, which can be used to become closer friends with people in the visual novel.
Our dungeon movement is inspired by the jump and dodge mechanics of both Dead Cells and Hollow Knight. Very simple to implement. The player would use WASD controls to move the player and use a primary key as a primary fire and a secondary key as a secondary fire to attack. I strongly recommend testing the demo game we have in our written pitch to see what this would feel like for yourselves. Our story themes, our Devil Headed's overarching themes embrace a storyline that discusses grief, trauma, and healing in an engaging environment, while also being able to take the time to truly spend time fleshing out our character in the visual novel. At the start of our game, we would introduce the main character and the tragedy they have experienced. Our evil demon ends up taking space in the main character's mind. This sets up our game loop of using your self-care and connections in the real world to become stronger in the dungeon, so that eventually you can confront the big demon himself and banish him for good.
The dungeon art style is that of a dream world inside the protagonist's mind. It has a pixel art aesthetic and an overgrown aesthetic with like vines and lots of plant growth running rampant, overtaking the architecture. The enemies of the dungeon are natural inhabitants who were infected by the darkness of the demon and are to be cleansed into their true form. The real world art style is a point and click adventure style apartment for the main character to explore, which would use a hand-drawn style for both the apartment and characters in order to contrast between the dream world and the real world. The main vibe we're looking for in our soundtrack is a mystical journey through the dungeons, aka like a sense of adventure through an enclosed space. We take inspiration for this direction from Undertale's waterfall theme and Terraria's Calamity Mod Wasteland soundtrack. For our background ambience, we were thinking of having like background candle flickering and echoing footsteps considering the environment of our roguelike section. Similar to Hades, we would also have sounds attributed to NPCs that play at the start of their dialogue, like having chains rattle at the beginning of the dialogue for our chained up demon.
Our dungeon generation uses a simple pathfinding algorithm to place down pre-made tiles in unique patterns to keep the dungeon fresh and exciting in each new playthrough. The algorithm has been made and tested already and would only take a couple days of work to implement. You can look at our written pitch for more details. And to fit within the scope of GDA, the roguelike section would only contain one multi-floor dungeon for the main character to traverse with 2 enemy types and 1 ending boss. The visual novel section would contain one NPC that the main character can build their relationship with. We are open to compromises if it helps our project fit with the scope, such as simplifying the dungeon layout and or removing the planned boss battle. But the main point of our game is that our game is built on a modular foundation, which will allow for everyone involved to be able to contribute what they can and what they want to, rather than following a strict structure of what needs to be done. This means that if all you can do is work on a little bit of environment tiles, only create one basic enemy, create just one character for the visual novel, or even give just some little lines, design one ability, or even come up with something entirely unique and new, chances are that we'll be able to use it in the final demo. This also allows us to make compromises easily, but also, even more so, make fun stretch goals as well. We want to cater to the group's strengths and truly make this our game. Don't lose your head.
All right, we appreciate you sitting through all this, and we will let you know that the next group coming up is our last presentation for the night. So please give a round of applause to Welcome to Greasy's.
Hi, I'm Jeremy.
I'm Lika, and this is Welcome to Greasy's.
Wait, you can't play the video.
Hold on.
It's supposed to.
Hold on.
There
There you go.
Thank you.
Welcome to Greasy's is a puzzle mystery game that uses elements of full motion video in its gameplay.
The player is a restaurant owner who is going undercover as a new hire at a rival restaurant. They're trying to figure out how this business is stealing their business. As the player goes through the online training modules, they discover weird hints and glitches left behind by an ex-employee. These glitches allow them to discover the gross secret ingredient that the restaurant has been using. The actual game will be taking place within these training modules on a computer screen.
The employee training software teaches 3 important lessons: talking to customers, employee hygiene, and making a burger. Each lesson is made up of a short 1-minute instructional video and a simple minigame.
There'll be live action and consists of a creepy video host teaching the content. The player will be able to pause, backtrack, and fast forward if they've missed any information, or if they find something creepy.
The 3 minigames will be small and in the scope of WarioWare minigames. They'll involve fulfilling customer requests, scrubbing dirty spots, and assembling a sandwich.
Wow! Hi, Greasy. This is Greasy. He'll show up every now and then to check in on your progress.
If I catch you slacking.
The player will then unlock each of the 3 modules one by one. After they unlock the final one, they will be presented with a certificate of completion. However, as it begins to pop up, it glitches out, and a message from the ex-employee begins to play. After that, the player is directed into the past modules to find more glitches and hints. After they find all of them, they're able to discover the restaurant's secret ingredient.
So welcome to Greasy's. And have a fries day.
So, going on to departments.
So for the aesthetics of the game, we really want like a corporate 80s sort of aesthetic. So that would be through like the minigame art and the UI art, and also like we want sort of like an 80s pop synthwave music.
So both of these departments will be able to contribute to the instructional video. The art department will be able to make physical art, such as props for the video and costume design and character design. We are also hoping for the sound department to create a song for the hygiene video, which is the second module, because we were planning for that module to be a music video.
Design, they handle all the mini games, also any of the systems such as Greasy and any of the clues.
The programming department will focus on implementing these systems into the actual game.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so the writing department will be focusing on creating the overall story and pacing. This will include writing the scripts for the instructional videos and the hints content of the glitches and hints spread out throughout the modules. They'll also be writing the flavor text for mini games.
And production will be very important. Shout out, I don't know where Dylan and Zoe are, but shout out y'all. Production is gonna be very important since we're working with a film side and a game side. We need we need very good communication between them, and we need to keep everything on schedule.
So for the instructional videos, we're going to be creating a film production task group. So this group will mainly be focused on the on-set aspect of filming, such as equipment handling. We've actually recruited some film and theater people to help us out on set. One of those people is Sebastian.
Hi, I'm a producer, part of the FPC Film Production Coalition, and I've worked on a couple of films and helped produce. And one film that kind of relates to the style was like a mix of animation and live action. So I've worked with two groups of people. We're also thinking of doing workshops and teaching people how to use cameras and editing software.
We're also going to be needing actors for the video. So if you guys are interested in acting, you guys can try out for that.
We want to get all you involved in the filmmaking process as well. All right, thank you.
Sneaking in that last slide right after the timer ends. All right. How was it? Please give yourselves a round of applause for going through all that. This is a big part of GDA and what we will continue to be doing for the rest of the year. So it's really important that you all have attended and kind of shown some support for your fellow GDA officers. Please. Also, some applause for the officers in the room. They have worked really hard behind the scenes to try and get all this together for you all, despite holidays and rain and possible dangers on campus. Please, a round of applause. To give you the brief timeline on how voting will go, if you have attended 3 meetings previously throughout this year, counting this meeting, you will be eligible to vote. We will be posting a Google form for you to fill out tomorrow, which means you hopefully will have all of tonight to go onto the Discord, review any of the slides that seemed interesting to you. Some games had playable demos that you'll be able to check out, ask questions to the pitchers so that they can hopefully respond. And voting will run all the way until Monday night. So you have until then to decide. And go ahead. Is it going to be like ranked or are we just choosing one? So to explain how voting will work, you're going to have 5 options to choose. Each option you select will have an accumulated number of points assigned to it. So your first choice will get 5 points added to its total, and your last choice will get 1 point added to its total. And the game that gets the most points collected through all of that will be the game that is decided. Perfect. If there's a tie, we will decide come then. Statistically unlikely. Thank you. Any other questions, I guess, about voting? No? Oh, go ahead. You are allowed to vote for your own pitch, yes. All right. Any others? All right. With that, please go out and vote. We will see you next week online for the last meeting of this year.